Sometimes we think peace is something far away, something only a few people can reach. But the truth is, peace is much closer than we realize. I want to share with you the journeys of ordinary people, people like you and me, who discovered peace through Islam. There was a man who struggled with his temper. The smallest things would make him explode, and his home was filled with tension. One day he came across the verse, "Surely in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find peace." Out of desperation he tried it. Instead of shouting, he whispered Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, and for the first time in years he felt a wave of calm. Slowly he changed, his anger softened, his family felt safer, and his heart finally rested. Then there was a young woman who carried so much anxiety. Exams, family pressure, and social comparisons crushed her. She could not sleep at night. Then she found the words, "Indeed, with hardship comes ease." She repeated them like medicine. She started praying, not as a duty, but as a conversation with the one who truly knew her pain. The problems didn't disappear, but her heart changed. She wasn't alone anymore. Islam gave her hope when nothing else could. I remember another story of a man who had everything: cars, money, friends. On the outside he looked successful, but inside he felt empty. One day he saw a poor man breaking his fast with just dates and water, smiling with genuine contentment. It struck him deeply. How can someone with so little feel so rich? That moment pushed him towards Islam, and he realized gratitude was the secret. When he started thanking Allah for small blessings, he found more joy than all the luxuries he once chased. And there was a woman who carried deep pain from betrayal. She thought she would never heal, that her broken heart would remain shattered forever. But then she read the verse, "Let them pardon and overlook. Do you not wish that Allah should forgive you?" She cried and thought about it. Slowly she chose to forgive, not because they deserved it, but because she wanted peace for herself. That forgiveness lifted a huge weight from her, and she walked lighter, freer, more at peace. Finally, there was a young man always chasing fun, trends, and pleasures, yet feeling empty inside. One night, he made sujood with sincerity for the first time, and in that simple act, his forehead on the ground, he felt something he had never felt before: closeness to Allah. In that moment, he realized his search for purpose was over. It was always here in submission. These are not famous people. They are ordinary people with ordinary struggles. But when they turned to Allah, they found something extraordinary: peace. That's the beauty of Islam. It doesn't erase problems, but it gives the heart the strength and calm to face them. Peace isn't in wealth or fame or comfort. Real peace is when you whisper Allah's name in the middle of your storm, and suddenly your heart feels lighter. Real peace is in knowing your Creator is with you, guiding you, forgiving you, and loving you. And if they found peace in Islam, so can we. The human heart is delicate. It carries our emotions, our struggles, our memories, and sometimes our pain. Over time, with stress, sin, and hardship, the heart can become hard. So hard that even small moments of joy no longer touch it, and words of comfort no longer move it. A hardened heart feels heavy, restless, and distant. But Allah, in His mercy, gave us a remedy, and that remedy is remembrance. The Quran tells us clearly, "Verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find peace." Remembrance softens the heart, bringing it back to life when it feels cold and lifeless. Think about it. When a person forgets Allah, life becomes all about chasing things: money, approval, pleasures, recognition. But no matter how much they gain, the emptiness doesn't go away. The heart becomes like dry soil, parched, cracking, waiting for rain. And then comes dhikr, the remembrance of Allah. Every Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar is like a drop of rain falling on that dry earth, slowly softening it, nourishing it, and allowing new life to grow. There was once a man whose anger ruled his life. Every small irritation set him off, and his family lived in constant fear of his temper. He had everything: strength, respect, money, but he had no peace. One day, out of desperation, he began to whisper words of dhikr when his anger rose. At first it felt strange, but soon he noticed something. The fire inside him began to cool. The words anchored him, reminding him that Allah was greater than his frustration. Over time, his family noticed the change. He smiled more, shouted less, and their home transformed from a place of tension into a place of calm. What changed wasn't just his habits, it was his heart, softened by remembrance. Remembrance also has a way of lifting the weight of sadness. Life is filled with grief, loss, disappointments, betrayals. When pain settles in the heart, it feels like a stone pressing down, heavy and suffocating. But when a person begins to remember Allah, that weight becomes lighter, not because the problems disappear, but because the heart begins to trust. Saying Hasban Allah, huwa ni'mal wakil, Allah is sufficient for me, and He is the best disposer of affairs, is like releasing a burden from your own shoulders and placing it gently in the hands of the one who is capable of carrying it. The heart softens because it no longer feels alone. There is also beauty in the way remembrance shifts our perspective. A hard heart sees only problems, but a soft heart sees blessings. A hard heart focuses only on what's missing, but a soft heart notices what is already there. When you say Alhamdulillah sincerely, your heart learns gratitude. When you say Subhanallah, your heart feels awe at Allah's perfection. When you say Allahu Akbar, your heart remembers that no problem is greater than your Lord. These words polish the heart like gentle strokes, removing the layers of rust that worldly life leaves behind. Remembrance also softens the heart towards others. A person who remembers Allah frequently finds it easier to forgive, to show kindness, and to avoid harshness. Why? Because when you are aware of Allah's mercy upon you, you want to reflect that mercy to others. A man who constantly says Astaghfirullah is reminded of his own shortcomings, and so he becomes less judgmental of others' mistakes. A woman who regularly says Alhamdulillah appreciates what she has and does not envy her neighbor. This is the transformative power of remembrance. It reshapes how we interact with the world around us. Even in solitude, remembrance changes the heart. There are moments when loneliness feels unbearable, when you think no one understands you or stands by you. But when you whisper Ya Allah, the room feels less empty. When you repeat His names, the silence feels full. The heart, once hardened by loneliness, becomes soft with the realization that you are never truly alone. The remembrance of Allah fills the emptiness with His presence, and that awareness is the greatest peace a human heart can experience. We often underestimate how simple dhikr can be. It doesn't require wealth, strength, or even a particular time. You can remember Allah while walking, driving, cooking, or lying in bed. Each word is a seed planted in the soil of the heart. Over time, those seeds grow into gardens of serenity and strength. Where once there was hardness and bitterness, there grows softness and sweetness. The softest hearts are not those untouched by pain, but those that constantly return to Allah in remembrance. They bend in prayer, they whisper His names, they trust His plan, and because of that, they radiate peace even in difficult times. Remembrance does not only soften your heart for yourself, it makes you a source of calm for everyone around you. Anxiety is something almost every heart knows. It creeps in during the quiet of the night, in the middle of uncertain days, and in the moments when we feel powerless. Our thoughts race. What if this happens? What if I fail? What if I lose everything? The weight of what ifs becomes a burden so heavy that even breathing feels difficult. Anxiety thrives on fear of the unknown, but hope is the light that pushes back the darkness. Hope eases anxiety by reminding the heart that tomorrow is in the hands of Allah, and His plan is always better than our fears. When a believer holds on to hope, they are not denying reality. They are not pretending that struggles don't exist. Rather, they are choosing to trust that behind every struggle lies wisdom, and that no storm lasts forever. Anxiety screams that things will never get better, but hope whispers, with hardship comes ease. Hope reframes the story the anxious mind keeps repeating. Instead of dwelling on endless possibilities of loss, hope reminds us of endless possibilities of Allah's help. Think of a person who lost their job unexpectedly. Anxiety tells them, you will never find work again, you will fail your family, you will fall apart. The mind spins in circles and sleep becomes restless, but when hope enters, the story changes. Perhaps this is not the end but the beginning of something better. Perhaps Allah is closing this door to open one more suited for me. Perhaps this difficulty is a path to hidden blessings. The external situation may be the same, but the heart feels lighter, calmer, and stronger because it chooses hope over despair. Hope eases anxiety because it shifts focus from what we cannot control to what we can. Anxiety tries to tie us to the future, a future we cannot predict. But hope anchors us in the present. It tells us, do what you can today, trust Allah with tomorrow. This mindset brings peace because it releases us from the impossible task of controlling every outcome. The Quran is filled with verses of hope, precisely because Allah knows how fragile our hearts can become. He says, so truly with hardship comes ease. He reminds us, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. He tells us, whoever relies upon Allah, He is sufficient for him. Each of these promises acts like medicine for the anxious heart. Every time anxiety tries to convince us that things will only get worse, hope responds with Allah's words that things will, by His mercy, get better. Hope also eases anxiety by giving meaning to our struggles. Anxiety often comes from feeling like our pain has no purpose, like it is random and endless, but hope tells us that Allah never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear. It reminds us that every tear shed, every restless night, and every fearful thought can become a means of reward if endured with patience. This perspective softens the intensity of anxiety because it transforms pain into a bridge toward growth and closeness to Allah. There was once a young woman who constantly battled thoughts of failure. She feared disappointing her family, feared making mistakes, feared rejection. Anxiety had become her constant shadow, but when she learned to place her hope in Allah, she began to see her challenges differently. Instead of thinking, I will fail, she thought, even if I stumble, Allah can lift me. Instead of, what if they reject me? She remembered, if something is meant for me, it will reach me no matter what. Her heart still felt anxious at times, but hope gave her a cushion, softening the sharp edges of fear. Another way hope eases anxiety is by reminding us of eternity. Anxiety often magnifies temporary problems until they feel unbearable. But when we remember that this life is short, that our ultimate destination is Jannah, the intensity of worry lessens. Hope in Allah's promise of eternal peace allows us to carry today's burdens with more patience. This is why the Prophet taught us to say, O Allah, make this world not our greatest concern, nor the limit of our knowledge. When our focus shifts to the hereafter, today's anxieties lose some of their grip. Hope is also strengthened through remembrance and prayer. Every time we raise our hands in dua, we are exercising hope. Every time we bow in sujud, we are handing our worries to the one who can turn them into relief. Dua itself is an act of hope, and with every sincere plea, the anxious heart feels lighter because it knows it has been heard. Hope does not erase challenges, but it gives us courage to face them. It transforms the storm of anxiety into a test we can walk through with dignity. It reminds us that behind the clouded sky, there is always the sun. And most importantly, it ties our hearts to Allah, the one who never abandons those who turn to Him. In a world where people are constantly chasing more money, more possessions, more recognition, it is easy to feel that contentment lies just beyond our reach. The mind tells us, if I had that house, I'd be happy. If I got that promotion, I'd feel secure. If I owned what they own, I'd finally be satisfied. Yet history and daily life show us that material gain rarely guarantees peace. There are countless people with abundance in their bank accounts but emptiness in their hearts. On the other hand, there are those with very little, yet their smiles radiate joy. The difference lies in one simple but profound practice: gratitude. Gratitude brings real richness, not the kind of richness that can be measured in numbers or assets, but the richness of the soul. When a person is grateful, they recognize that what they already have is enough. They see blessings where others see lack. They appreciate moments that others overlook, and in this appreciation they find a wealth of peace that no amount of money can buy. The Quran teaches us, if you are grateful, I will surely increase you. This is both a promise and a reminder. Gratitude doesn't just bring spiritual richness, it invites more blessings into our lives. The one who wakes up and says, Alhamdulillah for my health, my family, my breath, and another chance at life, carries a treasure chest within their heart that no thief can steal. Such a person feels rich even when the world may label them as poor. Imagine two people walking in the rain. One curses the weather, feeling miserable and inconvenienced. The other looks up, smiles, and thanks Allah for the water that nourishes the earth. for the chance to breathe fresh air, for the reminder of His mercy. The rain is the same, but their experience is entirely different. Gratitude transforms perspective. It turns ordinary moments into gifts and trials into opportunities for patience. This transformation is what makes a grateful person truly rich. Gratitude also frees us from the endless cycle of comparison. Much of our unhappiness comes from looking at what others have and feeling deprived. Social media magnifies this. Scroll after scroll filled with people flaunting success, beauty, travel, and wealth. Without gratitude, the heart begins to ache with envy. But when we train our eyes to see our own blessings, we stop measuring our lives against others. Gratitude reminds us that richness is not about having everything, but about valuing what we have been given. Think of a person who owns only a small home. If they constantly compare it to mansions, they will feel poor. But if they appreciate the safety, warmth, and memories within their walls, their heart will overflow with gratitude. They will sit at their modest table, eat simple food, and still feel like royalty, because gratitude transforms scarcity into sufficiency. Gratitude also deepens our connection with Allah. Every blessing, no matter how small, is a sign of His care. Every sip of water, every beat of the heart, every smile from a loved one is a reminder that we are seen and provided for. When we say Alhamdulillah with sincerity, we are acknowledging the giver, not just the gift. This constant remembrance brings the soul into harmony with its Creator, and in that harmony lies the deepest form of richness. Moreover, gratitude brings peace in times of difficulty. It is easy to be thankful when life flows smoothly, but real richness comes when a person can find something to thank Allah for even in hardship. A sick person who says, Alhamdulillah, at least I am alive to make dua. Or a struggling student who says, Alhamdulillah, at least I have the chance to learn, carries a wealth that cannot be diminished by circumstances. Gratitude in hardship does not erase the pain, but it cushions the heart with hope and patience. There was once a man who lost his business. People pitied him, expecting him to break down in despair, but he surprised them by saying, Alhamdulillah, I may have lost wealth, but I still have health, faith, and the love of my family. His gratitude gave him strength to rebuild, while others in his situation might have drowned in bitterness. This shows us that gratitude is not just a feeling, it is a source of resilience. It equips us to handle life's ups and downs with dignity. Gratitude also nurtures kindness. When we feel rich in our blessings, we are more inclined to share with others. A grateful heart does not hoard because it trusts that Allah is the ultimate provider. Even giving a small portion of what we have feels easy when we are aware of how much we have already received. In this way, gratitude not only enriches the individual, but also spreads richness to the community through generosity and compassion. True richness, then, has nothing to do with possessions. It is about perspective, about how we see and value the life Allah has given us. A grateful person can walk barefoot on sand and feel blessed, while an ungrateful one may walk on marble floors and feel deprived. Gratitude brings a satisfaction so deep that it makes every blessing feel like a treasure and every hardship like a step closer to Allah. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful gifts Allah has placed within the human heart. It is not simply an act of kindness toward others, but a deep form of healing for ourselves. When someone wrongs us, it is natural to feel pain, anger, or even a desire for revenge. Our hearts tighten, our minds replay the hurt, and the wound grows deeper the longer we hold on to it. At first, it may feel like holding on to anger gives us strength, but over time it eats away at our peace. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is like fresh water poured over a fire. It calms, cools, and brings relief. Forgiveness heals the soul because it frees us from the prison of resentment. Carrying grudges is like carrying heavy stones in our chest. Everywhere we go, the weight follows us. Every reminder of the person or situation brings the pain back, making it hard to move forward. But when we forgive, we release those stones. The heart feels lighter, the mind clearer, and the soul more at peace. Forgiveness does not mean we forget the hurt or approve of the wrong. It means we refuse to let the wrong control us any longer. Islam teaches us that those who forgive are loved by Allah. The Quran describes the believers as those who restrain anger and pardon people, and Allah loves those who do good. Notice how forgiveness is linked to goodness and divine love. When we choose to forgive, we are not just doing a favor for the other person, we are elevating our own soul, aligning it with the mercy of Allah. In forgiving, we mirror a fraction of His endless forgiveness toward us. Think about how many times we seek Allah's forgiveness daily. We slip, we err, we sin knowingly and unknowingly, yet Allah does not shut His door on us. Instead, He invites us back with mercy greater than our mistakes. If Allah the Most High forgives us again and again, how can we allow our hearts to harden against those who wrong us? By forgiving others, we soften our own souls, and in turn, we make it easier for Allah's forgiveness to reach us. Forgiveness also protects our emotional health. Psychologists today confirm what the Quran taught long ago, that holding grudges increases stress, harms mental health, and even weakens the body. Anger releases toxins into the heart, while forgiveness releases peace into the soul. People who forgive sleep better, smile more, and carry themselves with calmness. This is not surprising, because forgiveness removes the poison of bitterness and replaces it with serenity. There was once a man who lived with deep bitterness after being betrayed by a close friend. For years he replayed the betrayal in his mind, his anger growing like a shadow. He thought forgiving would mean losing his dignity, so he clung to resentment, but it only made him restless and joyless. One day he realized that his unforgiveness was punishing him more than his betrayer, so he whispered sincerely, "Ya Allah, I forgive for your sake." That night, for the first time in years, he slept peacefully. The situation had not changed, but his soul had been healed by forgiveness. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength. Anyone can shout in anger or seek revenge, but it takes true courage to let go. Forgiveness requires humility, patience, and trust in Allah's justice. It is saying, "I leave this matter to Allah, the most just, and I choose peace for myself." This is why the Prophet said the strongest person is not the one who overpowers others in wrestling, but the one who controls himself in anger, and forgiveness is the highest form of self-control. Forgiveness also opens the door to reconciliation. Families torn apart by grudges can find healing through forgiveness. Communities broken by conflicts can rebuild through forgiveness. Even within our closest relationships, between spouses, siblings, or friends, peace cannot thrive without the willingness to forgive. Every human makes mistakes, but forgiveness allows love to grow stronger than those mistakes. Most importantly, forgiveness draws us closer to Allah. When we forgive for His sake, we are promised greater forgiveness for ourselves. The Prophet told us that mercy is shown to those who show mercy. Imagine standing on the day of judgment with a mountain of sins, only to find Allah's mercy covering us because we extended mercy to others. This thought alone should make our hearts eager to forgive. Forgiveness heals because it aligns our hearts with Allah's command, removes the poison of hate, and opens space for love and tranquility to grow. It transforms pain into growth, betrayal into wisdom, and resentment into freedom. It reminds us that life is too short to waste in grudges and too precious to live without peace. Every human being at some point asks themselves the question, "Why am I here? What is the purpose of my life?" We chase careers, relationships, success, and material comforts, but even after achieving many of them, the heart often still feels restless. That restlessness is the soul's way of reminding us that purpose cannot be found in worldly pursuits alone. It is found in connection with the one who created us, and nowhere is that connection more intimate, more profound, and more purposeful than in sujud, the act of prostration before Allah. Sujud is more than a ritual movement. It is the moment when a believer's forehead touches the ground and their heart rises closest to Allah. The Prophet told us that a servant is never nearer to Allah than when he is in sujud. In that moment of humility, when the body bows and the ego is silenced, we are reminded of our true purpose, to worship Allah, to seek His nearness, and to live a life aligned with His guidance. In sujud, the illusion of control melts away. We live our days planning, worrying, and trying to hold on to power, but prostration brings us back to reality. It says, "You are a servant, not the master. Your strength is limited, but Allah's strength is infinite. Your knowledge is small, but His knowledge is complete." This awareness is not meant to diminish us, it liberates us. Sujud frees us from the burden of thinking we must carry life on our own. It reminds us that our purpose is not to control everything, but to rely on the one who does. For many, sujud becomes a safe haven. A person may walk through life carrying hidden pain, grief, disappointment, guilt, or loneliness. But when they fall into sujud, they are no longer alone. They whisper their secrets, their tears fall unseen, and their soul is comforted. In that sacred closeness, sujud gives meaning to even the hardest struggles, because it transforms pain into a conversation with Allah. The purpose of hardship then becomes clearer. It is an invitation to return to bow and to find peace at His feet. Think of someone who feels lost in life. They may try to fill the emptiness with endless entertainment, work, or social media, yet the void remains. But when that same person bows in sujud, suddenly the emptiness is filled with presence. They realize they were created not to endlessly consume, but to worship, to remember, to connect. Sujud becomes their compass, guiding them back to the path of true fulfillment. Sujud also teaches us humility, which is at the core of human purpose. In a world obsessed with status and pride, bowing our heads to the ground reminds us that real honor comes from submission to Allah, not from the applause of people. The richest, the most powerful, the most famous, none can escape the need for sujud. In prostration, all differences vanish. The king and the servant are equal before the Lord of the worlds. This humility is not a loss of dignity, but the highest form of it, because dignity is found in aligning with truth. There is also a spiritual wisdom in sujud's physical posture. The heart is lifted above the head, symbolizing that true guidance comes not from arrogance of intellect alone, but from humility of the heart. Each prostration is like training for the soul. Lower yourself willingly before Allah, and you will walk through life with purpose and balance. The beauty of sujud is that it connects us not just with the present, but with eternity. Every act of sujud is recorded as a moment of closeness that will shine on the day of judgment. For those who prostrated sincerely, sujud will be a source of light and intercession. This knowledge gives our daily prayers deeper meaning. They are not routines to check off, but purposeful acts shaping our eternal destiny. Sujud also reorients our priorities. When life's noise grows overwhelming, sujud quiets it. It reminds us careers will end, wealth will fade, people will come and go. But sujud remains a direct link between the servant and the Creator. The one who builds their life around sujud finds clarity in decision making, patience in hardship, and gratitude in ease. Every bow becomes a declaration. My purpose is to serve Allah, and in that service I find my peace. Even in moments of joy, sujud gives purpose by anchoring gratitude. A believer who falls into sujud out of thankfulness acknowledges that every blessing comes from Allah. This recognition prevents arrogance and grounds us in humility. Gratitude sujud makes us realize that our purpose is not only to seek blessings, but to use them in ways pleasing to the one who gave them. In sujud, the soul remembers what the world makes us forget. We are created to worship, and in worship lies the meaning of life. It is the place where questions of purpose dissolve, where confusion clears, and where the heart finds its true home. Sujud is not just an action of prayer, it is the essence of our existence.